Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Kino. And this week we're talking about American History X. This is a film both Moses and I have never seen before.
Until yesterday.
Until both of us sat down and watched it yesterday. And I want to start with your thoughts, Moses, and then we can kind of jump into mine.
First of all, Ryan, how are you doing?
Oh, good point. I'm okay. Things are much better now. I feel like, for me personally, anyways. I'm done with uni. I finished my second year on Sunday, which was a very validating feeling, and very happy with how I finished it out. And yeah, it's good. I'm just kind of taking a break this week more than anything else, and just taking it easy for a bit before I jump on like personal goals and whatnot for the summer. So it's stuff we're doing. Yes.
Secret Moses and Ryan projects.
Indeed.
Otherwise, yeah, I've also been good. We put in an above ground pool in the yard.
Yeah.
It's getting very warm.
We were talking about that before we started recording, but I so wish I could swim right now. Sounds so nice.
Yeah,
so nice.
It gets warm here in Switzerland in the summer, and usually what we do is we just go down to the lake because it's 10 minutes. But I don't want to go down there right now, so.
Yeah. Oh God, voice crack on the pod. Whoops.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I wouldn't go down to that kind of a public space, but
it's always very full. So.
Well, of course, especially because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Switzerland's been reopening stuff, so people are doing more.
When we went to get the pool, I went with my mom to the hardware store, and that was kind of weird seeing everybody. I wear a mask. Not enough people wear masks.
I've started wearing one when I go out to the store.
And the store's policies were dubious. None of the workers were wearing masks, but they did give you hand sanitizer when you walked in. And it was like they couldn't decide what to do in terms of precautions.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
Here there's still, there's still the lines, and only certain people around the store. So like, not really much has changed except that I see a lot more people in the park, but like, I will say each group is definitely at least 2 meters apart from each other.
Yeah.
So I feel like at least people aren't being, because I've seen photos of like the beaches in America, and it's shoulder to shoulder. There's no distance. So I will say here, at least, the government said unlimited outdoor time, so no one's breaking rules, and everyone's maintaining that kind of distance. So it's okay, I guess, for now.
It's just weird seeing like. I have friends from all over Europe and all these places, and they're all just like, I'm seeing people on social media just like hanging out at restaurants, and they don't seem to be taking any precautions, and I'm like,
yeah,
sure, okay.
Yeah, I think some people just it is what it is, but at least we're doing well. Yes.
Let's talk about the movie for this week.
Yes, please. Okay. You start. I'm interested to hear
I'll set the scene.
In depth more of your thoughts.
I got a text late last night from Ryan. Moses, is it bad that I like Edward Norton's character?
Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. Two things. First of all, I never sent that. And second of all, I can like his character in the second half of the film when he's a good person again.
No, I would also disagree with that.
Interesting. I do want to talk about that, the redemption part of the film. So I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yes.
But like,
you can't really redeem. That's a white.
No. But he's not. He's definitely not fully redeemed. He is punished for what he does, which we'll talk about at the very end. that is a clear punishment on him for his way of life
Yeah,
or what
okay.
he used to do.
Yeah.
So it's not a full redemption, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. That text never transpired, but we all know the truth.
No, it did not, and it would never transpire. I would never send something like that. That's the equivalent of me being like, I like Arthur Fleck. He's a good guy.
Wait, what?
And I would never say that. That's like me saying Arthur Fleck's a good guy. And like I think
you have said that.
Like, I've not.
I don't know, Ryan. I think you've said that.
It's okay to like entertainment about bad people.
I know
that's okay.
I know
it's okay. Breaking Bad is like so good.
Yeah, but a shocking amount of people think that he is a good guy. And that
Edward Norton's character.
No. Oh, I'm sure there are a shocking amount of people that think he's a good guy. But I was talking about Breaking Bad.
Oh. Well, a lot of people just think that like, he went wrong and he was always good. I think a lot of people misunderstand that like he was always not that good of a person. The good part of him was more of a facade.
It's weird to see how many people hate Skylar White.
I hate Skylar when she doesn't know. And then when she finds out and she becomes a part of it, I think she's a much more interesting character.
Wait, why do you hate Skylar when she doesn't know?
Because she does a lot of irrational things that I feel like the writers use as just like, we're going to create conflict at home because, we kind of need to. And I feel the domestic part of Breaking Bad doesn't really come into full form until season 3 when like she knows she becomes a part of it and she's dealing with the dilemma of like, am I doing what is right or wrong? That is when I think she becomes an excellent character. But before then, I just like, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of her.
There is a lot going on with Skylar. A lot of criticisms towards her that stem from like, she's trying to put down our hero Walter White, and there's a lot of
I've heard those arguments, and those are ridiculous.
Yeah, a lot of sexist undertones as well. What you said can be seen as a valid criticism, but I was referring to more like
no. Well, because the thing is, in season 2, like I think season 2 is like the true beginning of the descent for Walt. Whereas like season 1 to me is like dipping his toe in, but season 2 he's like he becomes Heisenberg, I think. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you need that character to keep him in check and like a voice of reason for the audience. But I just feel like sometimes the conflict that comes from her side is a bit contrived, but other times like the whole cell phone thing is like that's a really good plot point. That's a very good like point of conflict that they use well with her. So
before we go back to American History X and away from
sure.
I would like to acknowledge that in the video version of this podcast, yes, we are both wearing green.
We are matching. We are matching.
I didn't plan this.
Me neither.
Also, thank you for all the nice feedback on the video podcast last week. I got some nice words from some people.
Yes, I did too. Thank you, everyone who watched and enjoyed that. Yeah. We're really excited about starting this new phase of the videos and whatnot. So thank you for those who watched, and for those who haven't, get on it. Something new to offer in the video format. Yeah, you can see Moses's disgusted face when I talk about how much I love Joker as a film.
Oh,
yeah, there it is. You smiled at first, and I was like, "That's confusing."
No, because I was enjoying your little bit. There's only an idiot could like Joker. No. Okay.
11 Academy Award nominations. Excuse me. Sorry.
Sure, the Academy Award is like the pristine thing for the quality of a film. It's totally not bought by movie studios, and it's not all advertising. Sure, Ryan.
Oh, I agree. That's why Moonlight won Best Picture, not because it's a good film.
You are so wrong.
Ryan,
watch your back.
So I love when we started and we had this conversation and your friends came back and were like, we hate him. Like we hate him.
Ryan, watch your back.
He likes Joker but doesn't like Moonlight.
Ryan, watch your back. You will get sniped by some first-year film student who's got a vendetta against
I don't doubt it. So next year, some like first-year hipster film student who like thinks Moonlight is like God's gift to Earth will just absolutely go ballistic when he finds out that like
Moonlight is a fantastic film. We're gonna do it eventually on the podcast.
The third act blows my. The third act is a huge issue. We will talk about it.
American
it will
History
be a great episode. Yes, let's go back to the
Yes, we
This,
never
in
even
my
got
opinion,
started.
yes.
I enjoyed most of American History X. It has some problems, I think, in the third act that I think
Okay.
probably stem from the fact that there was a lot of production difficulties. Because I read about this after seeing the movie. Edward Norton had a big hand in the film,
Huge,
the
massive.
development, and also the editing. And the
Yeah.
director at one point wanted his name off the film.
Yeah, you told me that yesterday.
The director wanted to be credited as Humpty Dumpty.
Well, it's a one-hit wonder. I've never heard of anything else from this dude.
Yeah, it ruined his career.
That's crazy.
No,
I think the film is so good.
Not the quality of
No,
the
no,
movie.
no, no, no. No, but what he chose to do. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of crazy that he looked at the finished product and was like, "No, I don't want to be associated with this."
No,
even though the subject matter is like, I'm gonna be honest, I had a really hard time watching this film at certain points.
It is a bold subject to do in your first feature-length film.
It is.
The reason why you maybe haven't heard of him is I read it he kind of got blacklisted because he talked in the press about like the production difficulties and he was very open about it.
Yeah.
It kind of backfired against him. It's kind of like it's kind of like an Alien 3 situation. Not exactly, but like Alien 3 situation where the director doesn't even want to be credited. But,
yeah.
It's kind of like that. And a lot of people say that could have easily been the end of David Fincher's career. But I think the way he handled that was okay. And also a lot of people
kept a good relationship with Fox.
No, and a lot of the people who worked on that film saw his talent. One of the reasons he was able to do 7 is because one of the producers knew that he was good, and also Sigourney Weaver talked about him positively after the movie came out. So there was
he's professional.
That. But yeah,
Fincher's definitely professional.
Apparently, Edward Furlong also had a lot of a creative hand in this film.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
By the way,
it's fun. Sorry, go ahead.
This is the first time I'm seeing Edward Furlong on anything except Terminator 2.
Same.
I don't know what happened to him. Seems like a child actor thing again.
Yeah, I know he struggled a lot with like hard drug issues when he got to like the teenage adult point of his life. And I think he really dropped out because of that. So true. So true.
But yeah, I really love him in Terminator 2. I think he's like the perfect, like, cool.
I think he's great in both films.
Yeah, I know he's great in this as well.
Yeah, he was really good in this.
American History X. What I thought was interesting. A movie like this, it has to be. And going into this, I knew this. A movie like this has to be very careful in what it does with the subject matter, because you can't just make a movie about neo-Nazis, because you don't want to be seen as like.
There has to be a message, a point.
Yeah, but you don't want to. Not just that, but you don't want them to be too heroic. You don't want to accidentally send the wrong message. You need to be very overt with what you want to
Which
say.
I will say, I think, and we'll talk about this, I think there are a couple scenes where I think people could so easily interpret them as like the heroes.
Are you talking about the basketball scene?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I have notes about that. That is an odd scene.
But you know what? I think that scene's fascinating because the music in that scene is so like upbeat and like hero's victory.
It's like the climax.
I thought about it for a minute. Yeah, but for a minute I thought, I was like, this making me uncomfortable because the music's portraying them as like they're doing the right thing. But then I thought about it, I'm like, these flashbacks are from Furlong's point of view, Danny's point of view. So it's like, it makes sense. His brother's the hero. He looks up to his brother.
But still,
okay, I get it.
Still, a lot of the other stuff in the flashbacks isn't that way. So I thought that, and you don't need to make it that way. But it was
but I it makes sense because I think with Danny, they show a lot of how he looks up to his brother, not in terms of like why, because they never are like, Danny didn't have a father figure, so he looked up to his brother, even though that's what it is. So like I like that they show that in a different way than like someone going like, you never had a father, stop looking up to your older brother like a father, even though like it's clear that's what it is. I agree. So
I'm very happy you picked up on the basketball scene.
Yeah.
I thought it was maybe just me because I was like, this is insane. Like the camera work, and it's like
Yeah.
a swoop-in camera, like
It's amazingly shot.
yeah,
That seems really well done.
in terms of the black and white, visually, the black and white looks incredible because it's like all this grainy cellular, and then
Yes.
when it goes to color, I'm like, damn, it looks so good in black
Wow.
and white, and then when it goes to color, I'm just like, not as cool looking.
Okay, so a couple things. One, when it comes to that, I think it's because when it's black and white, at least the version I found I couldn't find a high definition version of the film.
Oh, I
So in black
rented
and
it
white
on Apple, on iTunes, with the new iTunes, Apple TV thing.
was it HD or SD?
It didn't say.
Okay,
So
because
probably
I rented it
SD.
on Amazon.
It didn't give me an option, so
Yeah, when I rented it on Amazon,
it was high quality though.
It was only SD.
It was
So
pretty
for
high
me,
quality.
the black and white always look better because it hides some of like the graininess of like something that's not high definition. But when it's in color, it becomes a lot more obvious. So I don't know how much I actually blame the film for that, or just like the distribution of the quality of the film.
No, I think I don't think it's the distribution. I just think that the black and white is grainy, and the contrast is so high that I think that by itself looks fantastic.
Sure. So for me overall, for this film, I'll preface it with this. Normally when I watch a film, even if it's something I haven't seen before, I pick up my phone at least once or twice because someone will text me and I'll respond, right?
You never picked up your phone?
I never picked up my phone. Not once.
I picked up my phone a couple times. I picked up my phone.
This film, it is the first film in a really long time where I was totally and completely engrossed. Like I found it to be an utterly fascinating film. And I think there are one or two flaws that, as I've thought about more, originally on Letterboxd I gave it a five star because when I finished it, I was like, that was mind blowing. I think in hindsight, I give it a 4.5, and I probably changed that because there are one or two things in the third act that go unresolved that they bring up, but then don't really tie up. So it's kind of weird how they bring that up, but then, yeah, it's kind of strange. But we'll talk about that. But I love the film, and specifically about the black and white. So the director also shot the film. He's also the cinematographer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I think that the film.
Wow,
I think the film looks incredible, and there are images in this film that will be seared into my mind forever. And
most notably, the shot of Edward Norton after he murders the gang member, and it's.
He's coming back in slow-mo.
And he's
like smiling and his arms are out.
No, but he's in darkness.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I mean by
that scene.
That shot
gave me chills. It's giving me chills talking about now. Like I will never, ever, ever forget that image in my mind. Like it's burned in there. And I think some of the imagery in the rest of the film does an excellent job of that. And I think overall, the film as a whole, I love how it's structured. And I love how the film is really from like Danny's point of view. And I like how I think that it has multiple messages because I think it is very much about, how, hate breeds further hate. And, I think it is also very much about generational racism and how like, it's like, that's very much part of American history. Yeah. Right. That's why I think it's called American History X, because like the generational racism goes down throughout our history. And it's interesting because I loved the scene with Dad when he was still alive. That one flashback. That was
because apparently Edward Norton's contribution.
I think it was such a good decision.
The director didn't want that in there.
Because I think that that scene shows so well because the dad's a racist, obviously. But he's not to the level of a neo-Nazi.
No,
so you can see how Norton's character twisted what his like some of his father's beliefs to fit his own, and then that transpired down to Danny. And I feel like I love how they show that.
His dad is like your uncomfortably racist uncle who's like they're taking our jobs. Yeah, it gives off that kind of vibe of the racist.
Yeah.
Uncle, not of the neo-Nazi. I thought that scene was weird because it really paints Edward Norton's character. What's his name?
I'm blanking on it. I'm gonna Google it. Go ahead.
It paints him to really be like this liberal high school kid, and it's just weird
he does.
how quickly he must have turned. Also, Edward Norton, you're not a teenager. Just because
Yeah. Man, I'm not gonna lie. When it wasn't that scene I was okay with how he looked, but it was the scene earlier when it's like the TV footage of when his dad died. He's got like a backwards baseball cap and like the longest hair, and I'm like, bro, you look 30. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, come on.
No,
and at first I was like,
scene
you could have
popped up,
cast someone younger, but
when that first scene popped up, I was like, yeah, he kind of looks ridiculous, but also it's like grainy TV footage, so I don't think it's terrible. But I just thought that was
so
funny.
Edward Norton's character's name is Derek.
Yes, Derek.
Yeah, Derek.
Okay.
So
Derek and Danny have the same initials.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I think that.
And I think dad might as well, if we know his name.
I have no idea what his name is. That would be so interesting if that was the case. And definitely tie that idea of right. Let's see, Vineyard.
I'm looking.
Also, Beverly D'Angelo surprised me by how good she was in this.
Dennis
I've only
Vineyard.
ever seen her in Dennis. Ooh, that's sick. That's sick. I love that they did that.
The mom is Doris Vineyard.
Yeah, Doris. All their names are D. Davina, Doris, Danny, Derek, and Dennis.
Except for the baby, apparently.
Yeah. You know why, though? You know why? Because with Danny being dead, that baby doesn't have to inherit the generational issues. Yep. So that's so smart. Oh, my God. I love this film.
I really liked the mother character in this and the sister.
Beverly D'Angelo, I've only seen in the Vacation film. So I was like, when her name popped up in the credits, I was like, what? That's weird. Why is she in this? But she was really good.
No, she's really good. I didn't even make that connection until now. Ethan Suplee as Seth, the neo-Nazi. One of the many.
I hate him.
One of the
last name is. His last name's up here. Do you want to guess what it is?
What? I just saw it. Ryan.
Seth
Ryan. Also, that actor now is like buff.
So fit. Yeah, he's he's really buffed out. I read an interview where he talked about like when he got really into shape, people stopped like casting him because they know him as like the fat guy.
Yeah, of course.
And so he stopped getting work. It's kind of sad that he doesn't get rewarded for improving himself.
It's also like when female actors turn 37.
Yeah, that's sad. Anyways,
even like 35.
Yeah. So watching this film for me was a really interesting experience because I found it to be so engrossing. I couldn't stop watching, but some of the stuff that was on screen was awful. And I'm not just talking about the curb stomping scene.
Just as a thing for me, it's uncomfortable just because
it's a well done scene though. It's well executed in terms of how much it chooses to show.
I'm sensitive about teeth stuff. And just
to me, that was the gross part. Seeing his teeth grind on the pavement was like,
dude.
That was a no-go for me as well. But I like how they executed that scene because it could have been grotesque or over the top, but the way that they showed it was like from a wide, and they showed a split second of the motion, and then they cut to Danny.
Yeah.
So it's just enough to terrify you, but it's not so much where you're like, the film went too far. This is disgusting.
Yes.
Kind of thing. So I do admire that about it, to be honest. Because it could have done that. It could have been like, look at these monsters. Look at the disgusting things they're doing. But it never stoops to that level, and I appreciate that about it.
I also have to say, when it comes to what I was saying earlier about this movie has to be careful, I looked up some of the criticisms, and it was like some of the criticisms brought up some of the worries I had about the film, but I thought they managed to resolve. When it got to him in prison, because I think we should talk about that.
I definitely will talk about that.
Yeah. So when it got to when he's in prison, Derek, is it? No. What's his name?
Derek.
Yeah, Derek. When Derek's in prison, I was like, and he befriends the black guy working with him. I was like, oh no, this is gonna be like Green Book, where it's like one nice black guy makes the racist not racist anymore. But
I did not see it.
No. It managed to go beyond that. It managed to quell my fear. But I did see people on Letterboxd. I saw people like.
People are missing the point of the film, though.
Yeah, no, I saw people taking that take away from it, but it's more about that because what happens in prison isn't just
No.
he befriends
What's
a black guy.
amazing?
It's he loses his
sense of ideology.
sense of ideology because he sees the lack of ideology from the other neo-Nazis in the prison.
He realizes the hypocrisy of the organization he was a part of, and then he's betrayed by that faith when they rape him, which to me was seeing the film. I had a really I couldn't. It was really hard for me to watch that.
That wasn't as hard for me as the
to me the image of him lying on the image of him lying on the floor afterwards and the blood was that really but I think the prison section of the film is so good because it's not just he loses his ideology or he befriends a black guy, but it's he has a new father figure. And I feel like when his dad died, he went to the neo-Nazi guy, but then his old teacher comes in and that's his new father figure. And they show Derek as a wayward guy who latches on to people for his own sense of self. Also, and when his teacher comes back and he gives him guidance and whatnot, he has, Derek has nothing else. So he decides to, this is the new father figure that he's going to better himself. And I love how it's not one thing that changes him. It's several things in tandem. And I feel like that is good storytelling because it's not simple because people like this aren't simple. This subject matter isn't simple. So if someone's going to change their mind and go through that kind of transformation, it has to be multifaceted. And I love that the film does that. I love it. Yeah.
So when he gets out of prison, he talks to his friend and he's like, I know that the only reason I wasn't killed in here was because of you. And his friend's like, no, it wasn't me, but it's implied that maybe it was because of him.
It definitely was. Because after when Norton goes, I thought so. When the other guy is kind of nodding.
The movie kind of implies that it was because of his friend, but I like it much more that it's not, because that shows to him that not all non-white people are out for him.
See, I took it as
that's much more interesting.
I took the protection as not the entire time he's in prison, but just the beginning phases when he turns his back on the neo-Nazis and he thinks people are going to come after him. I think it's just that early bit because then he has this line where he's like, then just people left me alone. There was no animosity. So I figured at the beginning, his friend was like, don't touch him. And then as it went on, they just were like, well, we don't care then.
Yeah.
People did leave him alone because that's how I interpreted it. But I get your point.
Yeah, I just think it's much more interesting because it shows that character that maybe not all black people are out for him and want to kill him.
Well, I think the main the main black guy he works with shows that more than anything. I feel like.
Yeah, that would move it beyond one nice black guy changes a man's viewpoint, and so I
but
I wish they had been more subtle about did it happen or did it not happen.
But I think even though at the end he kind of confirms it, while he's in prison, his narration does show because there wasn't any animosity from the black or Hispanic groups in prison, he did have that kind of that thought process change. So I feel like the outcome's still the same, and he still learned the same lesson. It's just that at the beginning he had some help. But I also think that's a valuable lesson because I think for him it teaches him you don't get anywhere in this life without a little bit of help. And if you have hate or animosity towards others, you'll never get any help anywhere, and you'll never survive. And I feel like that in and of itself is an important lesson for him to learn.
I wish there was more Elliot Gould in this film. I love Elliot Gould.
Do you want to talk about that dinner scene?
Yeah, sure.
I don't
have much to say about that scene.
See, I found it to be a really interesting scene because I'd never quite seen a film really. I mean, a lot of films have a topic of ideology or whatnot behind it, but I've never seen a film where and this is a testament to Norton because I also think this is his best performance, and I think that when he's breaking down what he believes and he's going on this monologue, it's transfixing because you're I don't know how someone can believe this, but he's saying it like he believes it with every fiber of his being. and I found it interesting from that perspective. And I think it's interesting because it's the only scene in the film that shows how his neo-Nazi ties destroyed his like entire family. It's the only scene that does that, and the way he treats his sister and his mom is horrific. It's terrible. And I feel like when he comes back from prison, they're more accepting of him, which is good because they know he changed.
That scene
but I
was
feel like
not meant in the director's version, I don't think.
But I think that's good that Norton put that in there, because if you don't have that reference point of how he destroyed his family, it's not as impactful when he's trying to help put it back together when he comes back, and like how he's trying to take care of his mom and his brother and his sister.
What you just said there kind of leads. One more thing I'll say before I want to go to the third act is that another scene that the director I don't think wanted to be in the final cut was the scene where they attacked the grocery store.
Oh, that's the hardest scene in the film for me.
I thought
that's the hardest scene in the film.
There was a remarkable when they're pouring all the stuff on
the milk thing, like it physically made me sick.
I was like, but wow, what a shot when the milk is just,
it's like, slow. The use of slow motion in this film is probably one of the best I've ever seen.
There's a lot of good slow-mo, but I'll talk about the third act. I'll talk about the third act.
Oh. Okay, so
now it does have a lot of great slow motion, and I meant to say this last week with a music video we were talking about, that I have been criticized by other people of overusing slow motion in certain video projects, and I love slow motion.
I think slow motion can be used for such like impactful effect, and I feel like it does.
Just looks fantastic, but
it does.
But like in music projects, not film projects, I've been told I used too much slow motion. But the third act, I have a lot of criticisms of the third act, and it's what brings the film. It's partially what brings the film down from a 4.5 to a 4 for me.
Sure.
Edward Furlong's character, Danny, his turn, way too fast.
It made sense to me.
No, I was like, what? He goes from like, I hate you, to having a conversation about the prison, and then he's like, okay, let's go home, let's pack up, let me take down all. And the scene where they're taking down.
I love that scene.
I hated that.
Really?
It didn't feel earned. That's a perfect way to put it. It did not feel earned.
Okay.
It just
I didn't feel that
way too simple. Like it was missing a scene.
So how I took that was twofold. One was that they present Danny as like, yes, he is like Derek in every sense, but more so. So if Derek is susceptible to people informing in his personality, Danny is the extreme of that. And they make it so clear that Danny is Danny. All these D's are confusing me.
Yeah.
that Danny is he has this worldview because of his brother, only because of his brother. So it makes so much sense to me that because that flashback for prison is a long one. It's not a brief one. They take their time. So to me, it felt like when he's relaying that story back to Danny and he takes the time, it definitely feels like Danny is listening and understanding his brother. So when his brother's like, this is why I'm not doing this anymore, because he listens to his brother and he wants to be his brother, he's like, okay. It made sense to me in that sense. And like, because the film has such strong themes of like we talked about, that kind of generational, racism and neo-Nazism in their family and in America, that when the first domino falls, the rest start to fall as well. And I felt like when the scene where he finishes his paper and he's crying, I felt that was the scene you were talking about, where it felt like he had like truly understood, and I got a good mindset into how Danny got to that point and how Derek helped facilitate him to that point. I think it all
felt too rushed.
I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think that what they could have done to improve that is, instead of making like the paper he had to write due the next day, make it due in a week and have the events of the film transpire over a week, so you could have more time instead of like, oh, it all happened in one night. He changed everything. Because like if you like me saying that sentence in my head, I'm like that does feel rushed. But when I watch the film, I don't feel that way. So I get what you mean, but just for me personally, that aspect of it, like it worked. Especially with where it goes, because I don't think it's supposed to feel totally earned, because Danny doesn't get away with that easy of a transformation. He doesn't get to walk off that clean, and I feel like that's the point.
Yeah, I know it's the point, but
that point
it
of the
still
film
didn't feel earned that he came to the realization.
Sure.
Also, he gets murdered. Going to that.
Oh, can we talk about that for a minute? Because
I wish
when that happened, I also haven't been that shocked by a film in so long
Really?
that I was so surprised.
What?
So my jaw hit the floor. I was
Dude,
shocked.
My criticism, one of my biggest criticisms, is that they telegraph it way too much.
Oh, really?
Wait,
I thought when he walked into the bathroom, I thought, oh, he's gonna get his ass beat. I didn't think he was gonna get murdered in cold blood.
Dude, they literally showed the gang member drive up to his house and go like this.
Oh, I don't remember that.
What did you see?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't pick up on the hand gesture. I remember them driving by.
He literally goes like this. I was like, come on. I was more surprised that the whole family didn't attack the house. I thought he was gonna get him at home, but no, it happened at school.
Yeah, I thought that too. But I just thought they were gonna beat him. I didn't think they were gonna kill him.
But there's enough setup in the first act when he messes with him in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
They see him on the basketball court, and he's like, "That's the guy you were talking about." That's enough setup. And that would be a perfect payoff, and I would have been more shocked.
Sure. So
I was just like watching the time go by, waiting for someone to get killed.
Wow. See, I thought Derek would get killed, because in the third act, and this is literally my only problem with the film, is in the third act they go to like a coffee shop, but then Derek's old teacher and like the police officer
what was that
or
about?
FBI or whatever, they're like, oh, we need you to like go into the gang and like find out who like beat up these other guys, like help us out here. So it's like they're starting an undercover thing, and then Derek agrees to it. So I was like, the third act's gonna be that he goes and then
spin-off.
Right. Well, that he goes, and then by the end of the film he gets killed, and like you're gonna have this theme of like, even though he was redeemed, he eventually had to go back, even though it wasn't for those reasons. So I was like, okay, I would like that ending. And I really thought he was going to get killed for that. But weirdly, the film, it brings that up. And then they just don't talk about it in the resolution of the film. And I feel like if they didn't, like that's something that's a first act plot point to set up a whole new film. To be like, go undercover in your old thing to start this off. That's an entirely new film in and of itself. And I just don't know why they included that. They could have had a similar scene where the teacher comes in, or like Derek drops Danny off at school, talks to his teachers, like, yeah, I'm reformed, this and that, and then they move on. So it was weird that they brought that up, and then I think that's also why I was caught off guard, because when they brought that up, I was like, okay, this is where the film's going, and I knew it, and I thought it. And then that happened, and I was like, I did not, based off what they just set up 5 minutes ago, I had no idea this is where it was going.
Going to the third act again, there's in the editing, it's too sappy. What I said about
the beach images at the very end.
No, it wasn't. Not even that. It's more the pulling down of the posters together with that music. It's all too much. The strings swell and they're pulling all this. It's too.
To be honest, I don't mind that, just because it's a 90s film, and those were the 90s.
It's too melodramatic.
Yeah, but there's so many great, like, I think Braveheart's melodramatic at points, but I think that's a great film.
I haven't seen it.
I know you don't like The Matrix as much, but I think that's a really good film, and I think it but there's some melodramatic beats. Same thing with Fight Club. I feel like, but I don't know, there's just a 90s sensibility.
The difference between The Matrix and this is that The Matrix is a sci-fi action movie, and this is a
drama.
This is a drama about neo-Nazis.
About neo-Nazis, yeah.
And the
But
Matrix has some heavy themes because it's a trans metaphor, obviously. But it very much is.
That would be so interesting to write about.
Oh no, it's
looking at that film through that lens.
It is.
It makes sense because of the directors, but
they're both transgender.
They're transgender now.
Yeah, and
so funny. Interesting.
They invented the term the red pill idea, and now it's used against their beliefs.
Really?
Yeah. Well, this weekend. Wow. Last week, Elon Musk tweeted out, you saw that, right?
Yeah.
The red pill thing. Yeah, and then Lily Wachowski, who co-directed The Matrix, was like, "Fuck you both." Because Ivanka Trump also tweeted about red pill, and it's like they go. Those are people who recently, Elon Musk recently has been leaning to the right, and of course, and it's like that goes against Lily Wachowski's beliefs.
It does.
It's weird having a thing you came up with co-opted by the right.
That's sad.
Yeah.
In that sense, yeah.
But yeah, it's so in that way, I thought the melodrama was a bit too much, and when he dies, it's like not the I was okay with the flashbacks to the kids on the beach. Because that actually did add an element of
that bit was emotional.
I didn't feel bad that he died because he had it coming because he was a neo-Nazi.
Oh yeah. And I wasn't sad that he died.
I was more like, he lost a brother. I was like,
yes.
I was sad about the brother
that was my
element
as well.
The brother element, because they really pushed that element with the flashbacks.
Yeah. But I also felt like
it make you feel sad for him as a person.
No, but what I liked was, to me, it's a great resolution for Derek, because when the teacher goes to visit him in prison after he's been raped, he's like, look, you can reform and be better, but it comes at a price, and this is that price. And I'd like that is that the biggest effect of Derek's neo-Nazism was Danny, was creating him. And I feel like the destruction of that is the pure destruction of that part of Derek, and it is, in a sense, it's justice for who he was and what he did. Even though he redeemed, he had a redemption arc and all that, he still did awful, inhumane things, and this is his punishment for it. And and that's why I love this film, is because I think some of it is simple, but I think other parts of it are massively complex, and I think this is that part of it. And that's in the ending. It did make me quite emotional because of that, because of that aspect.
I wasn't emotional,
because I wasn't. But the way they played up the brother thing and Norton's reaction is what I didn't cry, but I was it did hit hard for me.
I'm not gonna cry over it.
It definitely wasn't because I was like, oh, poor. No, I was. It definitely wasn't because I was like, oh, that's a shame about Danny. It was more like, well, it's part of that, because the film also it takes the stance, I feel like, with Derek was Derek's not a good person, even though he's tried to change. He's not a good person. But I feel like with Danny, the film takes a stance of he is young and susceptible, and even the teacher says he has a future. He is not this person, and he doesn't have to. His life does not have to be defined
by
Derek, this time in his life like it was for Derek.
I like that you just said that the film states that Derek is not a good person, because a worse movie could have had his redemption thing and then be at the end, he is a good person, which isn't the right way of doing it. But going to the ending again with what I was saying about it being sappy with his death and all, the director even described it as, when criticizing the final cut of the movie, it's crammed with shots of everyone crying in each other's arms. And it's a bit much, because he's right about that. They're all you see the kids in the hallway crying and his girlfriend's crying.
That bit was a bit not really needed.
Too mellow. Yeah, it's a bit too much.
I thought that, but then as soon as his brother went in, it sucked me back into the scene. So I just was whatever about that, and more Norton's reaction to me was so visceral. The way he drops and slides across the floor, just total and utter defeat. to me was like, oh, it was heart wrenching, and like in that sense. And no, the film definitely doesn't position Derek as a good character or as a good person. He's a great character, but not a terrible person, because even in his redemption, he does things that aren't very good. And even when he comes out, he's like, I'm not a good person. I do not deserve good things to happen to me. Yeah. And he makes that clear. And I like that the film does that.
Going back to like I was saying, like I had to look up like reviews of the film because I was sure there's going to be criticisms of this, because a film about neo-Nazis where there is a vague form of redemption, even though the person is still not good, because you can redeem someone and they're still not good. And I was like, yeah, like of course people are going to see that the redemption story and like shut off because they don't want to see that. That aspect of it. Even though he's still not a good person at the end. He's a piece of shit.
He is. He's total.
Going to the ending, I also read about how I don't. It's not in the final film. I think it was shot. I think, and the director maybe wanted it in his version of the final film, and I'm so happy it's not included. Originally, it was going to end with a shot of. Oh, I just remembered something. It was going to end with a shot of Edward Norton looking at himself in the mirror and shaving his head.
Oh no. No.
That goes a step too far.
No. God, no. They did that. I think they would completely undo the entire point of the film.
No, not that. Not for me. I just think that's too in your face. Because the ending, to me, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Because this character now, after the movie ends, he could either continue on his path of redemption.
There's that level of ambiguity.
He can get mad again because his brother died, and he can fall back into the neo-Nazisms because a black person killed his brother.
Killed his brother. I thought about that, but I feel like
of course you would think, he would see why that happened and the circumstances of that, and maybe he would understand it. But we know he's an irrational person based on the scene where he spouts his manifesto. He doesn't.
So two things.
Clearly.
My
problem with that final scene, if it was in it, is that it would just take away the layer, because you can take away your own interpretation of what that character would do.
Okay, so in relation to that, two things. One, I think that I like that ambiguity, but I do not, in my opinion, I do not think he goes back down that path, because if you look at the contrast between the reaction to when his dad died and when his brother died, and when his dad died, he was angry. There was anger with the sadness. Whereas here, there was a devastation that to me didn't have a trace of anger in it. And I feel like Derek is smart now, and in the sense that he's become very, very self-aware. And I feel like if they showed that at the end of the film and they were like, yes, he went back to his ways because like a black guy killed his brother, I think that'd be way too easy. And I think it would, the ending of the film is a punishment for Derek going, you can be redeemed, but there is a price to pay. But if you show that final shot, it becomes, this film isn't a redemption arc or a redemption film. It's it's a film about, going back to your quote unquote roots. And then it becomes about, all of a sudden the whole film is just, if I rewatch that film and that scene was at the very end, I would watch it completely differently and I would like it less. Because I do think that undoes the point of the film. So I definitely do not like that idea of him putting that in the end.
I love the ambiguity of the end, because I'm definitely like, this guy could totally fall back into it.
100%. I do like that aspect of it. I don't interpret it that way, but like I like that they give that option to people who like that choice is there, and it's good. It is good ambiguity. Sometimes ambiguity pisses me off, but like this is a good.
But going back to, I just remembered one of my least favorite things in the film: the lack of subtlety.
I want to talk to you about this because I wanted to know
the shot of Edward Norton looking in the mirror.
I love that.
No,
I want to talk about that.
No, I was like, I love this shot because you can tell what he's thinking. and then he goes like this and covers up the swastika. You don't need to do that. It's obvious what he's thinking. No, you do not.
You
do not.
do because, let me say why. You do not because of what is going on in the given scene, but because that was to me, that was a blatant callback to earlier in the film. In the very first scene, when he gets arrested, if you notice, the cop puts his arm around him in a very strange way. The cop puts his arm around him to pick him up by putting his hand over Edward Norton's swastika. So to me, that was a callback. To me, that was a callback to that scene and tying that thematic link together of moment he got pulled in and his swastika was covered is the moment his quote unquote redemption arc began. And then you come back to this moment when he's reformed and he's seen what his family's become. And he wants to cover it up like that cop did. In the sense that, like, this is no longer a part of me. If you rewatch that first scene, the way he picks him up, he literally like it is the same motion.
It wasn't obvious enough. Then it wasn't obvious enough because I was paying attention and I didn't see it. And because that's the only thing happening in that shot is him covering it up. And there's a lot happening in that when he gets arrested. So clearly the parallel doesn't work. And it just. Like, you know what he's thinking. You do not need to show that, even if it's a callback. I don't like that. Just because it's a callback doesn't mean it works. It's
not just a callback. I think it
of course it's not just a callback.
That whole idea together.
It's him being like, maybe I shouldn't be a neo-Nazi.
It's not him being like, I shouldn't be a neo-Nazi. First of all, also, I've thought about this during the film. I don't know why I haven't brought it up till now, but the swastika is over his heart. So when he's doing this to cover it up, not only is he like covering up the swastika, but he's placing his hand over his heart like he's saying the American Pledge of Allegiance. And when he's doing that, it's like I'm saying and declaring my like me as an American, but without this. I don't need this to be American anymore. And I thought I needed it. I thought this is what America was. And now I'm covering it up and declaring that I am my new self. I'm a part of this new America. And this is no longer a part of me. And I thought about that as well. And that's why I think, I can't remember what film. Oh, to me, it's like District 9. Parts of it are overt, but parts of it I think do have a layer of subtlety. I'm not saying there are layers, but there are layers of subtlety to it. But
look, with District 9 is also kind of an outlandish sci-fi film with comedy in it.
Mm-hmm.
So they can there
are moments of reprieve.
Yeah, so they can go along with the more in your face stuff because I can accept that more than this because it doesn't take itself as seriously. The tone is different. So it can be more in your face.
Okay.
It all depends on the type of film they're trying to make. And
that's fair.
With American History X, it's supposed to be uber serious.
So
and uber down to it's not meant to be this gritty realism thing, and then they have this outlandishly in your face shit.
I think that
you can have him look in the mirror, and it just be fine like that. His Edward Norton, he's a good enough actor. He's a good enough actor that he can pull that off.
He was definitely showing that he was definitely expressing that feeling before he makes that motion. I agree with that. I do.
Ryan,
but sorry.
Yeah,
can you hear? Is that better? Sorry, it's just with the heat in the hair, sometimes it just gets a bit much.
Yeah, you moved your mic a bit too far.
My bad. I agree. When he does express himself in that sense, he's able to express himself without putting his hand over his chest. I don't know. I like that it ties back to the beginning of the film, and I like that what that means because it really does draw attention to the fact that the swastika's over his heart, which that in of itself has significant meaning. And then when he puts his hand over it, has the meaning of covering up the swastika plus the Pledge of Allegiance thing. So I think there are layers to it being overt, so that's why I excuse it for being overt because I agree parts of this film are overt. To me, the most overt. Non-subtle part of the film is when he goes back to his old leader and he talks to him about Danny and all this stuff. I feel like the dialogue in that scene is quite on the nose in terms of you can't influence me anymore. Don't touch Danny, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's
a little bit
that could happen in real life.
Yeah, I mean, I like that scene,
I didn't
but to me,
mind
that was the scene where it was like it felt like it was almost directly talking about like some of the bigger issues of the film, and I'm like, I get why this is here, but like I don't know, maybe the writing in the scene could be a bit stronger. But I still, I don't know. Sometimes I like overt. Sometimes, you know.
I don't mind overt
Yeah.
things. It just has to match what the film is going for. And in this film, they were going for a very serious tone. And
Mm-hmm.
when it's all
Yeah.
sappy, over emotional, and unsubtle, it kind of clashes against the realism that it's trying to present.
I understand that. That's a totally valid criticism. Totally valid.
Yeah, I just that it's my main issue with it, and it's mostly in the editing, like the music choices.
Yeah.
Because at the end, it's
Yeah,
like,
the music choices were interesting.
Because the end, it's a lot of slow motion and like
Yeah.
a big orchestral score. The strings are going big, and it's like it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, it's a bit.
But like,
yeah.
But that also, but I don't know who to blame, because again, there was Edward Norton cut his own version of the movie.
Sure. Which in some ways is a good
I don't
thing,
know if
some of the things he included has, to me, made the film better. But maybe in some of those, like, but again, you know, he's not a director, so maybe that's where some of the overt things came through.
Maybe, I don't know. Apparently, the director has made his own documentary on the making of this, but it hasn't been released.
Oh wow, I'd love to see that. That'd be so interesting.
He wanted to be credited as Humpty Dumpty, and he called the documentary Humpty Dumpty.
Did he really just make this single film?
No. I don't think he's made more. No.
Oh, he's a strange looking guy.
He's
made some other things, but yeah, video short small documentaries. He did 1, 2. He's done 3 films: American History X, something called Lobby Lobster, and 4 films. Then Blackwater Transit and Detachment. I have no idea what any of those are. Here we go. Humpty Dumpty video documentary.
Yeah, it hasn't been released. I don't think.
No, that's too bad. I'd really like to see that. But I found this. Yeah, I found it. I would like to know if the hand over the chest scene was Norton's or you know, the director's Tony Kaye.
That could be a sign of just like a first-time director not managing a film's tone, which is
understandable.
Really, that's hard to manage in a film like this. So, you know, it doesn't completely ruin the film for me. It just brings it down a bit.
Sure.
Otherwise, I felt I've said everything I wanted to say. Just a note. It doesn't look like Edward Norton worked out his body equally. It's very disproportionate in terms of his biceps are massive, but then other stuff isn't as big. So it's like, what is going on here with your workout? It does not seem balanced.
He looked more swole
in the flashbacks.
And no, well, yeah, but that's, to me, that makes more sense. He looked more like swole in the when he's
basketball and the curb stomp.
The curb stomp. He looks more swole there, and when he gets to prison than he does in the basketball scene. But like again, those events happened like spaced apart. He could have gotten more buff within the space of the story of the film.
I took that note when the curb stomp scene came on. But you see him, and specifically the shot of him in darkness.
Yeah. What a shot! That's honestly one of my favorite shots ever. I will never forget that.
He looks horrific in that shot.
I will never, ever forget that.
Why is it your favorite shot, Ryan? Because there's a swastika in it?
No,
okay, Ryan.
All right, Moses. But to be fair,
okay,
that shot, and then when the cops come and get him, and he puts his hands up, it also gave me chills when he starts smiling at Danny. I was like, oh, why you smile? Like, and I thought that look on his face is a look of utter and complete satisfaction. He is proud of what he just did, and like, to me, that is a testament of Norton as just a phenomenal actor to convey that. And honestly, man, it makes me sad that he's apparently a total jackass and hard to work with because
his
he is
reputation
such a great actor.
his reputation of that partially comes, I think, from this movie.
Probably, that wouldn't surprise me.
Based on what I've told you, yeah.
Well, didn't Fincher talk about having some difficulty with him on set as well with Fight Club?
I don't remember that. I know that.
Not like heavy issues, but like, you know,
I know that when
sometimes.
making The Incredible Hulk, there were issues.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because he tried to do the same thing on that movie.
So funny.
Which
that he thinks he could do that twice. I mean, to be fair,
apparently his character in Birdman is based off him.
That makes sense. Him and Michael Keaton were the only like really good parts of that film for me. I don't really have a reference for that film.
I don't have an opinion on it.
Norton and Keaton, I remember being like so good.
I remember liking The Revenant more than Birdman, but I don't really know. It's been years since I've seen.
Oh yeah, me 100%. Me too. Inurin 2 is like a good director. I don't love him as much as everyone else. I watched the Revenant like a couple of years ago, about a year after I saw it the first time. I remember liking it more the second time, but like it's not a very rewatchable kind of film.
Oh no, it's not.
And I will say, man, it's strange because as much as like normally when films are really difficult to watch, you don't want to go back. But I would put this in the same category as Schindler's List, in that like it's a super difficult film, but I find myself wanting to go back and really pull it apart and really examine it, just because I think it's so interesting and such a fascinating and engrossing film for me that I want to like as we're talking about it, I want to go back and watch it and see that shot again.
I can see myself rewatching this.
And even though, man, parts of it are tough, even though that shot of the milk in slow-mo is a great shot, it's stomach churning. And there are other elements of the scene of the film that are like stomach churning like that. But I don't know, I found it to be so engrossing. I keep coming back to that word. Like that is really how I would describe this film, because I was locked on so much and just so invested in the story that I'm willing to overlook that it does have a couple of melodramatic moments, because it certainly does. And I play that more, honestly, I only see the melodramatic parts, not because of the acting or the direction, because I disagree. I like that scene where his hands over his chest.
I hate
the lack of subtlety for me comes from the score and the score alone. And I feel like sometimes the score is really great, and other times you're right, it's so over the top. I mean, the basketball scene comes right to my mind.
I'm happy you picked up on that. I'm shocked you didn't.
Honestly, when I watch this film again, when they come to the tearing down scene, I'll watch it silent, because I think that scene would have so much more power if there was no music behind it, and I think like it would hit harder than like the large orchestral score that you're talking about. Because I actually, the more we've talked about that I would say that is actually my biggest problem with the film is the score sometimes. But I found it to be such an interesting film, and I love the scene when he goes back, and I love the way that they use like the space of the neo-Nazi den, because when people find out that he beat the shit out of like their leader, the way that like the crowd like dissipates around him, and it's only him in the center, and they show that wide shot of like that disparity and that loneliness of what he's going through. I love that the film doesn't have easy answers for his redemption. It's not, oh, he was redeemed. It was, he's in the process of it, but he is going to hurt and suffer, as he should, because people like this don't get easy outs in this world. And I feel like that's really the power of the film. And I loved this film so much, which is really strange to say, because the subject matter is difficult. But
why do you love this film so much, Ron?
Because I think that this and Fight Club are like amazing character pieces, and I think Norton has a real knack for. I mean, like you said, Norton has a great. We keep picking characters that are just on the margins of society. And like,
I texted you that last night.
He does.
I just looked
both
up.
of them. Both films are just to me. Both films are just unbelievable to me. I love both.
I just looked up Edward Norton's filmography, because I always think of Edward Norton, as an actor's actor. because
Oh
he's
yeah,
so involved in the projects. Have you seen Alita Battle Angel?
I have seen Alita Battle Angel.
Um, uh, I haven't
When he
seen it,
popped
but
up
I
at the
know
end, I was very confused.
he's like the post credits villain stinger for the next
Yeah,
movie.
it's a bit weird.
Have you heard of the Alita Army, by the way?
Yes, and you know what? I'm kind of behind it because I
No,
thought
no,
that
no,
film
no, no,
was.
no. You can
Oh,
like the movie and not be part of the Alita Army, right? Oh shit.
okay. Because I actually thought the movie it has story issues, but from a world building like sci-fi
World building is
action
such a lazy.
standpoint, it is a bit. It's a lazy term. I
It's
don't
a
know how else to
it's a
define it though. Like the
world
space.
building is a lazy term to describe positive things about a
I
sci-fi
would say
film.
that the space that they create in Alita Battle Angel feels lived in, and the special effects are really good. The action sequences are terrific, and I think I want them to do it again because I'm like, have a better story. You know, they the worst part of the film was the romance bit, which will not be in the next film for reasons. And I just want, with now that they've dropped all that baggage of setting up the story and the clunkiness of some of that, I want them to go back and hone it and make it better because I feel like it could be really great, you know? That's what I liked about the first one. There's a lot of potential.
It's funny because you're not on Twitter, but it's funny. It's like the Alita Army thing is kind of like a mini version of the release of the Snyder Cut thing, because
A little bit.
no, you'll just see on random,
Hashtag Alita Army.
No.
Same way it was like hashtag release the Snyder Cut.
One of the funniest things I've seen is I have a screenshot of it somewhere. Every year Obama posts a list of his favorite books and movies, and when he did that, I think I maybe sent you a picture of this when I found it. The first comment I saw under his tweet for that was someone being like, "Hey, Mr. President, have you happened to see have you seen Alita Battle Angel? Hashtag Alita Army."
Oh my god!
That shit is so funny. I have the screenshot somewhere.
Did he respond?
Of course not.
That'd be so funny if Obama was just like,
no. Yes, I have seen Alita.
Yes, I loved it. I think every American should go out and watch it.
But it's also I've seen a lot of weird posts of people like fetishizing the Alita character.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that's weird. Especially
so maybe don't associate yourself with that movement.
No, but I did find that first film to be interesting and engaging, and just it's one of those where like you watch the first film and you're like, man, the sequel could do amazing things if they really really did something with it.
The people in the Alita Army like to buy up all the Blu-rays that are in stores.
Doesn't surprise me.
And then hand them out to friends to be like, you need to see this film.
All right, that's a bit. I'm not buying that film. I enjoyed it. I would like a sequel, but I'm not buying it.
No, but they're like buying stacks of the Blu-ray.
I wouldn't even give it out to my friends. I'd be like, if you want to watch an entertaining film, watch it. But it's not like when I recommend like Heat or Into the Wild or like some of my like favorite films, right? It's not like you have to watch this. Like, please, like I love film. Please share this with me. I don't get that. That's interesting. That's so like I get if maybe one or two people love it. But anyways, let's wrap up here.
Next week.
Yes. Well, let's do our final thoughts overall.
Yeah, I've given I've thought about the film. I enjoyed it a lot. I had some problems tonally with it, but I think it managed surprisingly to remain not too controversial in my eyes.
It remained adult. It doesn't take shortcuts, I feel like.
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time. For me, I thought this was an excellent film. I think this is one of those films where I feel like people need to see it. You know, like I feel like there's something really, especially because it's kind of sad that 20 years later, this has more resonance.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh no.
No, but the thing is, like,
when I was watching this, I was like, oh Jesus.
Yeah, I know, and it's just like it. I really feel like this is a film people need to see, and like it's something that people need to understand and come to terms with. You know, the way that the way the characters are handled, and the story, and the themes, and the social message is talking about. I feel like people like it is a required viewing, and I thought it was again, if if you want to play a drinking game to this podcast episode, take a shot every time I say engrossing, because I thought this film was totally engrossing.
Take a shot every time I say the film is not subtle. You'll die.
Yeah, or
the lack of subtlety.
The words overt, subtle, and engrossing. Take a shot every time you hear one, and you'll be absolutely demolished halfway through this episode. But
you'll be conked out of your mind.
Conked. I love that word. But I found it to be utterly fascinating. And when I finished it yesterday, I just sat down and thought about it. I really thought about it and the characters and what it means, and the final quote by Danny at the end as he's reading it off.
Do you know whose quote that is?
I don't.
Abraham
I
Lincoln.
liked it a lot. Really? That's great.
It's from his commencement speech.
Okay.
Also,
I love that even more.
The final shot, the final quote thing, I was also just like, this feels.
I like the quote.
Yeah,
I like the quote, but I wish they had focused on Derek as the final shot, though.
It made me think like this is kind of like a student short film. It gives off that vibe.
It seems like that because they're showing random shots of the beach, and I just.
No, but also
I get why,
the
because,
voiceover
the brothers were on the beach.
The voiceover and the shots of the beach.
In tandem, yes, I can see that. But like, if I just listen to the voiceover, I'm like, this works. I just put it over something else. But overall, I really thought about it, and it's really nice because when we've been in quarantine, we watch a lot of films. I'll rewatch stuff, but I don't really think about it. I'm just like. I've been rewatching a lot. I rewatched Ferris Bueller's Day Off the other day.
Yeah, I saw that on your Letterboxd. It's not my favorite of the John Hughes.
I don't expect anyone for it to be their favorite. I have such a nostalgia for that film, and I think it is like there's the single great for me when I watch that film, it makes me happier than
my uncle
almost everything else. I love that film.
My uncle gave me a DVD copy of Ferris Bueller when I was younger, and my parents at first didn't want me to watch it because they knew that I'd pull some Ferris Bueller shit, because I was that type of kid. So they're like,
yeah.
Oh,
I pulled a fake sick day every now and again.
Oh, of course. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
You're good at two shoes if you don't.
Yeah,
Who doesn't want to fake a sick day?
Yeah, every now and again. But anyways, we keep getting off tangents for this, but just
I've said all I want to say.
I really thought about it, and some stuff that didn't even occur to me until yesterday. I mean, we were texting about the use of black and white and why they use black and white, and you didn't find that very subtle. I did.
No.
I like the use of black and white.
Oh, I didn't find it subtle, but it didn't take away anything from the movie. I love the use of black and white. I'm totally for it. That's not one of my problems with the film at all. That's not a problem.
See, I think that the film is amazingly shot. The use of black and white, especially, but also I like what the use of black and white means, which we talked about over text, and I just want to mention briefly because I think it's interesting in that, Derek's worldview is black and white, so it makes a lot of sense why to him he's like there's nothing gray or complicated about the world. I believe this, everyone else should too, and if you don't, he's basically telling everyone to go to hell, basically. And I found that interesting. And from Danny's perspective as well, it's his flashbacks. His view of his brother's is also black and white. It is my brother's this thing, therefore I should be this thing. I thought that was brilliant.
It would have lacked subtlety for me if Derek said when it's in color, I don't see the world in black and white anymore.
That's true. That's so true. Man, that was a line of dialogue, I would have laughed.
Yeah,
I would have.
That's the same level of overtness that you get from when he puts his hand over it.
Oh, I disagree. I respect your opinion. I agree with the film does have issues balancing tone, especially with music. I disagree with that scene though. I love that scene. But overall, I think this is a phenomenal film. Truly, truly excellent.
I was surprised by how much I liked it.
Me too, because I thought I'd like it and find it interesting, but I didn't think it'd be so involving.
I've heard good things about the movie, and it's a famous movie to an extent, but it's not like a movie that everyone tells you to go out and see. No one's ever.
Which I feel like people should for this film.
No one's ever recommended the movie to me ever.
Only one person ever for me.
Well, no, I've never.
But it just, yeah. The thing is, it's a really great film. It's a great film.
Okay.
So Moses, what are we doing next week?
Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo. We haven't. Neither of us have seen it. We've seen Kurosawa before, but we just haven't seen this one, and it's one of his most famous.
Is this our first foreign film that we're doing?
Parasite.
That's right. We did do Parasite at the very beginning. Yeah, I've only ever seen one Kurosawa film, which is Seven Samurai, which totally lives up to the hype as like a classic of film. That's an excellent film.
I've seen 3, to my knowledge, because I've seen Seven Samurai, Rashomon, and I've seen Hidden Fortress, Star Wars.
And Rashomon's your favorite, isn't it?
Yeah, Rashomon is a fantastic film. I love it dearly. It's one of my faves.
After Yojimbo, I'll definitely watch Rashomon.
We'll definitely have to do Rashomon. Also, the structure of it directly influenced one of my favorite films, which we've talked about on the pod, Social Network.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Sorkin listed that as an influence. Also,
from the way you've described Yojimbo, it makes sense.
No, Rashomon. Not Yojimbo.
Oh, sorry, Rashomon. Sorry.
Also, Rashomon, to my knowledge, is the first movie where they pointed the camera at the sun. I don't know if that's true. But
okay. That's interesting.
That's a fact about the movie I've heard from multiple sources. But
that's probably true then if it's from multiple places. Yeah. But yeah, I'm super excited to do that, mainly because I know that Yojimbo directly influenced what's it called? It's A Fistful of Dollars.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sergio Leone got sued by Kurosawa because he was like, you basically plagiarized my film.
I've seen A Fistful of Dollars.
I
don't remember anything from that movie. I thought it was pretty boring.
Oh, I really liked that film a lot.
We've never mentioned it on the podcast, even though I think of it as a recurring bit.
Sure.
I have never seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I've never seen the movie that the podcast is named after.
We will one day, just because
no, never.
I love westerns, and I love that film.
Yeah, you're a dad. Have you secretly fathered a child, Ryan? Have you secretly fathered a child?
Look, all I'm gonna say is just don't contact any of my girlfriends because they may give you an answer you don't want to hear.
Oh shit!
No, of
you
course
got that.
Not.
When it comes to your movie taste,
I've always been a dad. People in high school used to call me my sense of humor, the way I carry myself. Like people have always been like, you're very much a dad. So that doesn't surprise me that you feel that way, even though I disagree, because your version of dad films are just good films. Ford versus Ferrari, great film. Good and the Bad and the Ugly.
I wouldn't say it's bad,
film.
but I would never describe it as a great film.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a masterpiece, but I think it's a great film.
It's all right.
It's pretty good.
It's all right. It's not kind of boring.
Good.
For the third act.
It's too long, that film.
Okay.
It could be 15 to 20 minutes shorter.
So,
anyways,
next week,
Yojimbo.
Thank you for tuning in this week.
Yeah, everyone, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen this film, as always, go out and watch it. But I actually think of all the films we've seen that we've done for the podcast. I think if you're going to watch any one, I would say this, just because I think it's an important film to watch.
I don't know if I'd say that, but
I don't think it's the best film of what we've looked at. I think it's one of the best films that we've done on the podcast, but I think it's one that people really do need to see. So, thank you so much for listening this week, guys. You can follow us on our Letterboxd
it's linked in the description. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is the video podcast.
Yes, please do. That is new for us. We're hoping to gain momentum on that platform as well as on the podcast platform. So please subscribe and that kind of thing. God, I never thought I'd get to the point where it's like, please subscribe to our channel. But here we are.
Like and subscribe, guys.
Yeah, please. Actually, we're saying that ironically, but also please like and subscribe. Anyways, so we appreciate all the support, guys. Especially right now, it's so nice to know that so many people are listening. Because in quarantine, it really is uplifting to know we're doing this, and I enjoy so much doing this with you, Moses, and talking about film like this. But it's so nice to know that other people are listening and actually enjoying it. So thank you for everyone who's given us that kind of feedback and and for enjoying the podcast. It means a lot to us.
Our email is thegoodthebadandthekino@gmail.com if you want to shoot us an email.
As always, like if like, send us some recommendations. We're open to everything and anything. Let us know.
Also, we might have a guest on in a couple weeks. Who knows?
Yes, we are, and we're sorting that out, and
we're very excited for that. Our first guest,
and we're sorting out the film that this person wants to discuss, which would be very different from what we've done on the podcast before, but also a very exciting opportunity. We're really excited to do this. And first of many, yes, we both have multiple friends we'd like to bring on that we know that would really add to the conversation. So it's an exciting new chapter for us. We're getting somewhere, and thank you to everyone who does listen and support.
Yes, thank you very much. That is all. Stay Kino, guys.
Have a good week, everybody, and stay Kino.
Stay Kino. Bye.
Bye-bye.